to them through you and will reward you through them. And when you see me coming, when you hear about my coming out in the open, then come back to me. Anyway, when Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away, Abu Zar radiallahu anhu felt such grief that he could not bear to live in Medina after the death of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he went to Damascus. He lived there at the time of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu and Umar radiallahu anhu. But by the time Usman radiallahu anhu came to power, it was time for his khilafah. When he was a khalifa, people were immersed in luxury. They were pursuing the pleasures of this life, the goods of this life. This saddened Abu Zar radiallahu anhu. So he left Damascus and went back to Medina. There too in Medina too, he found the people have changed, and they too are pursuing the pleasures of this life, the goods of this life, and they're pursuing the soft living. So Abu Zar radiallahu anhu used to criticize them, but they also were critical of him for reviling them. Once Abu Zar radiallahu anhu was asked, why people live upset when they come to your house? Abu Zar radiallahu anhu replied, because I advise them against hoarding the treasures of this world. Anyway, when people were so critical of him, Usman radiallahu anhu asked Abu Zar radiallahu anhu to move to a remote village of Medina called Rubda. There he started living, renouncing the preoccupation of the worldly preoccupation and holding on to the legacy of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One day, someone came to visit Abu Zar radiallahu anhu, but there was nothing in the house. There was nothing in the house. So he said, "Where are your possessions? Where are your possessions?" Because there is nothing in the house. So Abu Zar radiallahu anhu replied, "We have a house to which we are sending the best of our possessions," meaning the hereafter. But the man said, "But you also need something for this world." Abu Zar radiallahu anhu replied, "The owner of this world will not leave us on it. I have left the matter to the owner of this world." You know, Abu Zar radiallahu anhu, about Abu Zar radiallahu anhu, Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the earth shall never carry, nor the heaven shall cover a man more true to his faith than Abu Zar radiallahu anhu. Now let us move to Abdul Rahman ibn Auf radiallahu anhu, one of the Asharatul Mubashirun, one of the first 10 people who were promised Jannah in their lifetime. He was one of the, possibly, if not the richest, one of the richest men in Medina. Abdul Rahman ibn Auf radiallahu anhu, one of the richest men in Medina, if not the richest. But all this wealth did not corrupt him. He lived very ordinary life. He could not be distinguished from his own employee. You know, one day, he was fasting, and some food, some date was brought for him to break his fast. He could not swallow it. He started sobbing, crying. He said, Musab ibn Umair was killed. He was better than me. We could not find enough cloth to cover his dead body, whereas I lived on and acquired all this wealth. I'm afraid we may have acquired our reward early in this world. And he started sobbing. He started crying. And he could not swallow the food that was brought before him. Now let me tell you about Musab ibn Umair radiallahu anhu. Musab ibn Umair radiallahu anhu was one of the richest amongst men, was one of the most handsome amongst men, was one of the most intelligent amongst men. Musab ibn Umair radiallahu anhu grew up in the lap of affluence, and he was born in the lap of affluence. He grew up in the lap of affluence in Mecca. His rich parents lavished great attention and care on him. He wore the most expensive clothes, And the most stylish shoes, Yemen at the time was known for elegant shoes. You know, in today's term, today we say Italy is one of the place where you get elegant shoes. And in those days, Yemen was known for elegant shoes, and it was his privilege to have the very best of these. Very best of these. As a youth, as a young man, he was admired by the Quraysh leaders, not only for his good look and his style, but also for his intelligence, his elegant bearing, and his keen mind endeared him to the Meccans, the nobility of the Meccans, amongst whom he could move with ease. He attended even the meetings of the leaders of the Quraysh because of his position. But all this changed. All this changed when he embraced Islam. His family rejected him. His family rejected him. And so he had to leave his home, his family, and he had to give up all the comforts and luxury that he used to enjoy. Henceforth, this most elegantly dressed man henceforth could only be seen in the coarsest of attire. One day, Musab ibn Umair radiallahu anhu came to the gathering of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That is several years later. Some of the Sahaba looked at him and bowed their head, and some lowered their gaze. Some moved to tears because his jalbab was old and in tatters. His dress was shabby, and this took them to the days when this man was the model of elegance. He was considered the fashionable model for all young people of the time. He was the richest amongst men. He was the most intelligent and handsome amongst men. And now he comes with that dress. These Sahaba bowed their heads. How much sacrifice he has made. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam smiled gracefully and said, I know this Musab from the days he lived with his rich parents in Mecca. His rich parents lavished great attention and care on him. They gave him all the comforts of life. There was no Quraysh youth like him. But he gave up all this comforts and luxury for the pleasure of Allah and for the service of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. A day will come when you Muslims will have victory. Allah will give you victory over the empires of Byzantium and Persia. You will wear one dress in the morning, another in the evening. You will have one dish in the morning, another in the evening. In other words, Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam predicted that the Muslims will become very rich and very powerful. So one of the Sahabas asked, "O Rasulullah, are we better off now, or would we be better off then?" Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam replied, "You are better off now if you knew the world that I know." Anyway, this Musab ibn Umair radiallahu anhu was now known as Musab al-Khair, was chosen by Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam to carry the Islamic banner, the Islamic standard in the battle. During the Battle of Uhud, first Muslims were having upper hand, but later a group of Muslims, or so-called Muslims, the weak Muslims and the hypocrites, Muslims in name only, went against the orders of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam and deserted their position in the battlefield. The Quraysh forces realized the opportunity and they rallied again. Their aim was to, they launched a counterattack by rallying again, and their aim was to cut through the Muslim forces and get to Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Musab ibn Umair radiallahu anhu realized